Hey everybody, this is Victor. I'm here with Steven again. He's done, we talked about in previous videos, case study videos, he was doing flips and making a ton of money. Now we're talking about another successful completed flip that he did. It's closed and he made 102,000 net profit. So over 100,000 he made net profit. We're going to be talking about that deal and all that stuff. But yeah, we'll appreciate it. How are you doing?
Good, I'm doing good. Just had our baby and just closed on this flip, so it's nice. It all
You're
happened
busy,
at
yeah.
the.
Congrats. That's awesome. Baby number two.
That's right. I was signing paperwork as my wife was in labor. She was like, "No, go sign."
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
To sell the
So,
house, that specific house?
yeah, to sell that house, that this flip, we were like, because
Uh,
it was about an hour away, and we had just got home, and I was like, we accepted an offer and everything, and
yeah.
I was like, well, let me just wait. And she was like, no, go sign the paperwork so we can
That's
get it.
great. No, that's great. She's so supportive and
Yeah, yeah.
you guys were able to do that. So that's awesome. So yeah, I think last we spoke, like you've done a couple flips, and like with with my mentorship and me just like you're a self-starter, so it's great. So you just do it on your own and you've done the wholesaling. So this is great that you can add the flipping to it and make more. But yeah, I'd love to hear about this deal. 102,000. That's more than I've ever made on a flip. I think my record's like 84 or something, but
Oh, really?
yeah.
Dang, yeah.
So yeah, tell me about this deal. Like, how did you find it? Let's start with that. How did you find the deal?
Okay, so this deal was a what they call the like a probate or pre-probate.
Okay.
The person's wife had passed away. It was an additional house that they owned, and it came in through our pipeline. Like you said, I started with wholesaling, so we market for all of our deals. And this one, we got it at a deep discount. It was a hoarder house. It was,
Okay.
it was a hoarder house filled to the brim with items. That took some time to clear.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was on the probate list, and we cold called them.
Yeah.
So that was the method that we used,
That's
and
great. Because a lot of people say, oh, cold calling doesn't work or whatever. And then you go and prove it and get a ton of deals that way. So that's great.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's just kind of calling more. Uh, Cold calling has just always worked for us. So I know
Yeah.
there's laws that come out and stuff. So we just kind of adjust with that, and it's been great. I mean,
That's
super.
awesome.
Our conversion. I mean, it doesn't cost us. I think it costs us like $1,200. Like I think it cost us $1,200 to like land this last deal.
There we go. Yeah, I'd pay that any day.
right?
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
so yeah,
Okay.
that's how we got the deal.
So you got okay. So you did the cold calling, probate list, you got the deal. What happened next? So you closed it and then you
Uh,
started renovations. Like what can you walk
Yeah.
me through what
So
happened
we
next?
we closed on it for we bought the house for 30,000.
Okay.
We offered I offered 21,000 to Anchor Low, and then they were like, we really want to be at 30, so they accepted 30. I was willing to go further up, right? So
Yeah.
then we put on it. We hired people to clear it out. Um, the dumpsters. It was several dumpsters, and then we had to replace joists. We had to replace. There's a lot of stuff that had to be done that
Yeah.
was you couldn't really see it at first glance,
Right.
but then once we removed all the junk, there was a lot of stuff that we needed to repair. So got that, and all this while pregnant wife. So we cleared it out, and then we started renovation. Started with the roof. The roof was in horrible shape,
Uh-huh.
and then started clearing stuff out. So
Okay.
it was a project for sure.
Sounds like a big project. So okay. So you basically fixed everything. And then I think you ran into an issue. So you decided just to sell it early, if I'm not
Right,
mistaken,
right.
instead of finishing the renovation.
Yeah, so I underestimated our budget, our renovation budget.
Okay.
On top of everything, we were gonna make I believe it was 140 or 142 take home pay. So when I first looked at it, I really underestimated it. It was a lot of junk in there. Didn't see warping on the floor. Didn't see some major things that cost, that really cost and really took away our budget.
Yeah.
Allowed us. I mean, it just stopped us from completing it. So on top of the timeline of my wife, so underestimated the budget. Lesson learned there, and had to sell it as is. So essentially, all that was left was a kitchen floor and kitchen flooring, and there were some other miscellaneous
Yeah.
things. But it was best to cut our loss. You know, we sold it at 172.5. I mean, not really a loss, just
Yeah, a huge
so
profit, but not. I know,
right,
like when you have it in your mind, like, oh, I'm gonna make 145,000 or 142, and then in the end you make 102. Like it feels like a hit. It feels like a
yeah,
punch in the gut, but you're still like super profitable and like you.
right, right. Being goal oriented, I'm always like, you know, all right, I have this number, I get fixated on it, and when I don't hit it, I'm like, all right, I have to kind of make up for that. So
Yeah,
for me in my head, competitively, it's a loss, but I'm like, okay, where's the next deal that's going to surpass 102,000?
yeah.
Um, so yeah, those were my lessons there. Were
Hmm. And part of it, like I get, because you had a pregnant wife, so like you had a lot on your plate already. So just to sell it as is and just be done with it. And like you have good deal for, like we've already done a couple of these case study videos, and like you're always getting flips and you're always like still wholesaling. So I'm sure something else will come along, and you can make another 100 or something like that. Even if you make a
and
30 or 50 on a flip,
right.
like, that's still good. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's kind of what my wife kind of brought me back to earth and was like, you know
Yeah.
what, you know, we'll land another one. We'll, you know, so it was time to cut it, and well, we did good. You know, we did it good. We made a good amount. So
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to share on that deal, or anything else you learned on that deal you want to share with everyone?
yeah, not underestimating. You know, if there's a percentage that maybe you can recommend, I know some people do like times 5%, times 10%, times 15% when it comes to, I guess, your due diligence when you're making sure you're going through your checklist of, you know, what needs to be repaired,
Right.
uh, adding a cushion. That's kind of where I'm going to adapt my SOP here, and I'm going to
Yeah.
add one, get better at, you know, um, I guess, seeing what it's going to cost to fix,
Uh-huh.
even if it's a hoarder house, kind of getting in there and looking at it, moving stuff around if I have to, to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
Um, what else?
I think
Uh,
that's really smart. So like adding contingency to your budget, I've seen 10%, and that's pretty good. I think that's really smart. And then just to add to that, when it is a hoarder house and like it's full of stuff, you don't always see the problems. Like maybe there's flooring issues, or that maybe there's holes in the drywall. You don't see that. So add a little more to your budget based on that. Because that's happened to me too. That's happened actually a couple times where like it's filled to the brim of stuff. You get all the stuff, and it's like, oh shoot, I didn't even know what I bought. Like I was still glad I did those deals, and I think you're still glad you did those deals. But it's just one of those things. Like you just add a little more buffer, add a little bit more buffer, and then you're not surprised.
right, right. And I think the cushion really helped. Because I could have gone all the way up to 70% or 70,000, sorry,
Okay.
and just anchoring low really and letting them speak first.
Yeah.
Another takeaway, letting them give their number first, as always. Really, because when he said 30, I could have said my next, you know, was to say like I can do 35. You know what I mean? I was gonna go up
I
in price.
understand. Yeah.
So anchoring low when it comes to price, having your numbers right, and adding that contingency, that buffer in case of emergency or in case
Hmm.
something like that happens.
Like smart. And just, I mean, you're learning and you're making it happen. So like you'll learn and get a little bit better each time, and you'll
Yeah.
do better next time. And
Yeah.
so cool. With that in mind, like, would you recommend others work with me as well?
Absolutely. I texted you when my money started running low, and I was like, "Hey, look, like just because this is I'm not super experienced with flips, as you know, I've I'm under 10 flips, right? So
Yeah.
under 5 flips. So it's like I'm glad I was able to reach out to you. You know, I reached out to you, you answered immediately and kind of brought me back down. I kind of stopped panicking, and I was like, okay, just list it as is. Don't throw more money into it.
Right.
And I walked away with a good return. Even the pricing, the tip you gave me about pricing of like, uh, I think some people call it like a feeding frenzy, like listing it a little bit below so that you can get
Yeah.
attention. And that really worked. You know,
Oh, awesome.
I planned on posting it higher. And then I was like, no, I spoke with you. And then I was like, no, let me kind of uh, use that strategy, put it
Uh-huh.
lower. And man, I mean, I listed it on, I think, a Wednesday or Thursday, and then Friday we had a showing, and that night we were signing paperwork. So
Whoa, hey, that's awesome. Wow.
yeah, so it
Okay.
was good. It was
No,
awesome.
yeah, it's I used to teach like stretch pricing, like list a little bit higher and then maybe someone's going to come in low, but like I've actually tested it out and it's better to do like very fair pricing, like
Yeah,
very like feeding frenzy pricing. I actually like that term. Because then you get people maybe multiple offers, you get people to jump on it. The issue is like if you list it too high and it sits, and there's like some studies done, like if it sits there too long, you actually make less because kind of gets stale and you get less interest. And then when someone comes along, they can beat you up more on price. And
right.
yeah, I need to find that study somewhere. But yeah, that's
I remember you saying it was like a almost like it gets stigmatized. Your listing gets
yeah.
stigmatized.
It's like why hasn't it sold? Exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, it was perfect. I got multiple offers, and I
Nice.
was like, man, in this market, I'm better off listing lower than higher, right? So it was
Right.
just perfect. It was
And
like,
just a little bit. It's not like you took a huge hit, just like a little
no,
bit,
no, I
just to
didn't. So
like
yeah,
yeah,
and I landed where I wanted to land, which is cool. So I appreciate that. So yeah, definitely, I would recommend people work with you. We've been working together for a while, and
yeah.
uh, it's been worth it.
Cool.
It's
Good to hear. Cool, cool, cool. Well, no, appreciate you hopping on, sharing your story. I think since we've done this a couple times, and like it's still cool to see your progression. Like you did your first one, now you did this one, and like you're gonna continue to do flips. And yeah, you're just doing really good. You're doing really, really good. So just keep it up. Anything else you want to share? Anything else you want to tell everyone?
Just one last thing I didn't mention. I'm not sure if I mentioned it. Actually, yeah, you helped me with this as well. I had my insurance canceled because of
Huh.
it was not a like let's say investor friendly insurance. Like it was more of a like a house flipping insurance, if that makes sense. So I think I got a better rate after they canceled my rate. I just went on Facebook, typed in like insurance, house flip insurance coverage, like on Facebook,
Yeah.
and some people came up. So if it's in really bad shape, just going ahead and working with those insurance type people instead of conventional home insurance. So
Yeah.
kind of there. I don't know if that's a newbie tip, but I learned that on this flip.
No, that's solid advice because sometimes it's beyond repair for a homeowner's insurance policy or like a normal insurance, conventional, let's
Uh,
call it.
okay.
So you have to go more like hazard insurance is what it's called, like more flip insurance.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I do remember that. When you tell me this stuff, like in the moment, like I answer your questions and I help you out, and then I forget about this stuff, and you remind me like, oh, and this happened, and this happened. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that did happen,
Oh
and
yeah,
we
and your
got through it,
response,
so that's great.
yes, and your responses were definitely like uh you know very helpful. Like it
Yeah,
was very helpful. So I appreciate it.
cool. Cool. I'm glad that was helpful. Awesome. Well, appreciate you hopping on here. Thanks for sharing everything. Looking for the next case study video where you're like, oh, I made 150 or, I did 10 flips
Definitely,
this year and I made 1 million, whatever. We'll get there. But
definitely.
yeah.